Hey, afternoon now. This one is technical tourism, let's say. So, just a little bit of one adventure out in the field. This was fly in and drive to in Texas. So, that gives you a hint in the search we're going to go for in a little bit. If you're playing, if you're following along. So, why is this one interesting? I don't know. So, the service was install an additional channel and an analyzer. And here's the address. So that was very interesting. The address now seems not to exist. The name has been changed. So you can find it, but it's just not obvious there. So an interesting Google search is weapons depots. There's all branches of the service that have them. So, but this is just a little interesting note in history that the name of the place has changed. And what that does is breaks a paper trail, breaks a history. So that's what renaming federal organizations does. So this is big business. Anyway, what was interesting about this trip? I flew in, got a rental car, drove, I think, 4 hours, found a hotel, and then it was another hour to get to the entrance to this industrial site. And at the gate, I was given a map of where to go, and you have it was 20 minutes to get there and about a 10-minute drive. And the call ahead was made, and people were expecting me. So this short little drive, this 15 minutes, how many miles is that? At 15 miles an hour? Not much. But behind the gates and behind the trees are bunkers. Now, these bunkers look like ones that stored DDT, I remember from my youth, right? Some of them resemble bunker shapes that I recognized from nuclear weapons issues, history, and just what we know. So, anyway, going on this base, you had so many minutes to get to where you're going. I met a few people, said hello, signed in, got my Halliburton case, and walked down a hallway in one of those buried domes. So I was introduced to the instrument, told where some of the tools that I needed might be. If I had a question, use the phone and dial a number. So, okay, I'm good. I had breakfast on the way in. This could take a while. So behind me, a door closes. Very large door. And looking around, there's huge pipes in this room. So this was one door of many doors we walked by. And in the middle of many doors. And it's in a deluge room, which means if something happens in that room, it fills with water to put everything out, to remove all the oxygen from the room because it was full of explosives, but full of the minerals that make explosives. So this instrument was for measuring the ratios in weapons materials of all sorts, and it was used to go and take weapons stores and test them and see if they were degrading as we expect them to, if they were meeting the lifetime designs for storage, if they would be usable in the time of war. When they get stale, that's a whole nother story. So this is the room I'm in. It's got a steel door closed behind me, It's a concrete bunker designed to blow up if it does blow up and not blow sideways. So the weak point is still the roof, but the concussion to blow the roof open is pretty cool stuff. This is engineering. This is what you do to make weapons depot, weapons bunkers, weapons storage, ammunition storage specifically. Long-term safe. This is long-term testing. It's a commitment, it's resources, it's a lot of people in labs doing things that are just necessary as part of a decadal systems life cycle. I could be referring to nuclear weapons life cycle and why we are spending billions of dollars on supercomputing resources just for weapons research. And it is for decay physics. It is for fusion and fission research, which is all what we need to do, right? It's what we need to do with it that is the question. Discovering what it is one thing. So that room was just an interesting place to be. It meant that my spidey senses were up for any sources of sparks or arcs. And guess what? The instrument I was working on has megavolt electronics in it. Or more to the power available if it was an arc or spark source. So arc or spark is AC or DC, or just like welding. Looking at the light from welding tells you what is in that weld, but it blinds you. But that's what these instruments can do. So you're in a room with a deluge system. To get out of to open the door, I would have had to call the number and ask someone to come down, or they might have given me a passcode. Either way, there would have been a way out, but it might have taken a few minutes. So I was there for a few days because these instruments, you let the air out of them and then you go to lunch because you can't decompress them too fast. They need to do an equalization because they're under a super cool vacuum, because light travels best in a vacuum. There's no interference, so it's critical after the beam is split up into its wavelengths in the spectrums. After hitting an optical grating, it's plated with the specialty materials specific to the wavelengths that the instrument's looking for. So, gas detector, a anyway. So there's that room, and on the shelves are little beakers and big boxes and explosion-proof, air-proof types of bins, and it's all kinds of colors of the minerals that you see displayed if you go look for any science, the science videos that talk to elements, and that's what this analyzer looked for. The channels it had in it are proprietary. I never took them with me or wrote them down. I might have a note from that. My records are company records because all of this was proprietary, and there were some contracts and agreements signed, and frankly, I found them doing what they're supposed to be doing. So that military base, when I got done, and I told them I was be back in the morning, they set up the security requirements for the next day and my access times, and went through the same drill. Now, a lot of people have been through this type of security if they live down in California by the Marine base, because on the east side of the Marine base is a naval weapons depot, but there's a main road that goes through it. So to use that road, that public road, you did. I haven't been there in decades, but you pass through security gates and they give you a pass, and you have so long to get to the other side. On that reservation, because it's undisturbed, are the coolest tarantulas, but that's another story. So these are the vagaries of life. Some of the places I've been to have disappeared. They're federal sites. They are corporations that change names. So the address is the same, but the name no longer exists. So life out there in the just a different place